The station of the stars. RTI.
That'll be us then, Radio Tatras International. That's the one, the station of the stars. Hello to... they're diving in on Facebook already. Good people. We haven't got Leigh yet, but we have got a Rach. Hi, Rach.
Hi, Uncle Eric. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you, you poor little thing?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm just a bit weary. I've had to use my brain, and you know how I really am loath to do that.
Well, I can get that. Yeah, it makes sense to me. We don't know where the Banks person is at the moment, boys and girls. He's probably just not got out of his pit yet, so we'll slap him when he eventually gets here, won't we? Yes, I think
we will.
So. Yes, we will. So, why? Oh, I know what it is.
What?
Your social calendar has been wiped out.
My social calendar has been completely wiped out. And my life is no longer my own. My life now belongs to the man. But that's okay, you know what? That means I can save up for my next trip to Poprad.
How are you getting on with your new colleagues?
Yeah, great. They, of course, immediately detected that I am completely bonkers. And that's good. I've already established myself. And they actually tried to play a trick on me, bit of a, new person hazing.
Yes.
And and much to their horror, I didn't fall for it. So I've also get some kudos as well, which was nice.
Well, I think you should name them, really, and say how wonderful they are.
Well, I actually legally can't.
Really?
Yeah, we're not allowed to discuss the name of the business in the press or otherwise.
Oh, my word. Oh, my word.
It's a very, 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 very big organisation, and they have a lot of, how big organisations have lots and lots of rules.
Yes.
And that'll be it for me to break one of the biggest ones.
Right.
First week there.
Right. Okay, then. Well, before we get started, we'll tell everybody what's coming up in part 2 of the programme. And this is the debate for part 2, everybody. Many people, especially on social media, quite correctly point out that, for example, ex-soldiers living rough and suffering is wrong. And we totally agree with this. Totally agree with it. However, why are these people who moan about it not doing something to help? This happened on Facebook this week. They would rather blame somebody in authority rather than picking up the phone and calling one of the many helplines available and say, and this bloke's in trouble. Now, I genuinely say, it's your social responsibility to help people by calling the correct helpline rather than spouting off on social media that this government's bad, that political party's bad, this part doesn't do that one. And I'd love to hear your views on this. And we'll read some out in the show a bit later on after the news. But don't you think it's the responsibility of people, if you see, for example, a soldier... Ooh, ouch, what was that?
Might be Banks.
Might have been. Might have been him trying to get in. Might have been. We'll see in a minute. You see these people on the street. A lot of them... Some of these people, they don't want to be helped. So you go and talk to them and say, would you like some help? If they say yes... You use your mobile phone, you make a phone call to somebody, why wouldn't you do that? I want to know why people go, oh, it's not my job to do that, it's somebody else's job. What's your views? Should everybody around the planet be socially aware and get on with life and do some amazing things rather than just sit there going, oh, I'm going to write on social media and whinge about it, but not actually help the person? And I will tell you the full story of this a bit later on in the show. Let's see if we can find Mr. Banks. There are messages there, but I can't actually see what's going on.
He's sending us a yoo-hoo.
Well, hold on a minute. We'll just try and do a reconnect. So we'll cut Rach off for a sec. And what we'll do is start all over again, because I'm like that. And we'll have another go. He probably is there. He was just lazy being late as usual, you see. He's shocking. This is the guy that's going to be late for his own funeral. I'll say hello to a couple of people first. My good God, everybody's there, and I've missed so many of you. Hello, I'll be there in a minute, mate. We've got to say hello to Ken, to Nigel, to Luciano, to Helen, to John, Steve says, good morning. Johnny Reese says, John. Hello, Johnny, here on a Monday night. Ever is there, as is Peter, Noreen. Why are you there, Leigh Banks? That's very stupid.
Why am I here?
Yes.
I'm just saying hello to you.
Well, it says you're on Facebook already.
I know, I've been saying hello, saying, why don't you want me, baby?
Baby.
Waiting for you.
And, Gavin McCoy's there as well. That's really nice to have you along board, young sir. Yeah, he's a little so-and-so, you know. He posts pictures of his wife all over the place.
Oh, Ingy, she's beautiful.
I know, she is. She's far too beautiful for him. Much too beautiful.
Now he's actually a very handsome man.
Yeah, I know that. Henry's there from Holland, as is Peter. Ben Collins is hello, Ben. How's it up in your part of East Anglia? And John, Steve, woo. We're not doing the debate yet. We'll do that a bit later. You can talk about the topics first. John Shakespeare is there, as is our Paul Brown. He's in the house. Yeah, he's there already. Yay! And Chris Tez is there as well. There's Heinrich on you now, as is Abdood, I think, something like that. We've got the guys from Dubrovnik, the radio station. They're listening again. Hello, guys. Hello to the FM station in Dubrovnik. Nice to have you with us. Martin has joined us as well. And I'm really sorry about this, boys and girls. I've got to do something which I really don't like doing. But sometimes one has to do it. Most of you will know that for a very long time we've had a good friend of the show, Joe, who's been listening with patients in the cancer ward in Bedford Hospital in the UK. And Joe sent me a message this week to say that his lovely wife Millie, who he's been with for months and months in the hospital along with the other patients, she sadly lost her fight against cancer this week. So I just want you all to do one thing for me. Just in your mind, you don't have to do anything else. Just in your mind, go, hi, Joe, love to you both. So love to Millie and Joe from everybody here, and it will be fantastic. It really will. Thank you very much indeed. I really appreciate that, because I've known Joe for, oh my lord, 60. 54,
you did figure out a count.
42 years.
42, that's 92.
No, 42 years. And it is terribly sad, Steve. I totally agree with you. But love to Millie. Yeah, and love to Joe. And we will send love to Millie as well, because she can listen wherever she is as well. So love to you both. And
nice thought, yeah.
Yeah, R.I.P. to you, darling. We move on to Edwin Hawkins.
Oh,
Mr. Banks.
Well, yeah, what a tragedy. I think we all know Edward Hawkins, who had one major hit, which was Oh Happy Day, which was the 18th century hymn written by Philip Doddridge, that he turned into a gospel song.
And it was really good.
Brilliant song, brilliant.
Great song.
If you think that goes back to 1969, which, using your maths, is about 190 years ago.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it still is relevant and has the power and the impressiveness. That
Everybody still sings it today, everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah. We have one question I'd like to deal with quickly from Steve. He says, the BBC are reporting that the Mayor of Liverpool was questioned under caution. Does that mean he has been arrested? Not necessarily, Steve.
No.
Absolutely not. When you're questioned under caution, the police do caution you that anything you say may be taken down and used in evidence against you. That doesn't mean to say he's actually been charged and arrested. It's just talking, as the best way to put it. If you could imagine that you were in a court where you have to tell the truth all the time because it goes on court record and you're under oath, it's the same difference. In other words, I think that's probably the best way to describe it.
It is, yeah. It's You were cautioned that you may well be
told off later.
In a lot of trouble. He's been interviewed under caution over fraud.
Yeah.
And it's
But that doesn't mean to say he's been arrested, Steve. No, definitely not. That comes.
He's done it. It means that he's been held and questioned.
Yeah, he's just been questioned.
He's accused.
It's the same way, when if you go into, you see it on the TV, they go into court, you put your hand on the Bible and you swear an oath. It's kind of the same as that, only the police have control of the testimony. It's recorded on special equipment, so you can't fiddle it a bit later on. And if there was a case to be held, then he would be arrested a bit later on.
Under oath, you're compelled to answer, and under caution, you're not.
Yes, yeah.
That's a very good description, actually. Yeah.
This is rather too good. But excuse me, we're doing consumer help.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the show.
Well, we don't help everybody at any time.
Gosh, proper journalism at the beginning of the show. I can't handle this. That's,
you know what?
Do you know what?
It's the Consumer Foundation is all about the people.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
I like her. Who's that woman?
Absolutely. That's probably why it's snowing like crazy outside here today, which it is.
Don't tell me that, please. I don't want to hear that.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm very upset about that.
You are. Are you still drowning?
Me?
No, that woman.
It was only one day of rain, but as soon as I left Europe, it started snowing,
Oh, no.
and that's really annoying.
That's because you wanted to stay in Europe like you stayed in New York, isn't it?
That's probably true.
Yes.
The founder of IKEA, Ingvar Kamprad, that's it, has died at the grand old age of 91. And, I'm not necessarily a fan of IKEA as such, but I like the bloke.
Why did you like the bloke?
Because he wasn't at all snobby. He didn't go running around saying, hello, this is me, I've got millions of pounds, and I've got all this stuff, and da-di-da-di-da. He lived a very reserved life. Reserved life.
Reason to be sort of a humble sort of a guy, but, I mean, apparently the idea came to him when he was trying to get a table in his boot. And one of his mates said, won't you take the legs off?
Yeah.
And he, ding!
This is a good idea. Yeah, we'll do that. Oh, dear. But anyway, love him. I'm sure many people around the world love him to bits for what he does. And he has become a kind of a style icon in many ways. And it just goes to show, he started from kind of like a shed.
That's right.
And built up this multi-billion-dollar business. And to begin with, and this is the key to business, he didn't start employing people until he couldn't cope. He didn't say, I'm going to go out and get £1 million from these people on one of these fundraising sites and then sit back there and manage everybody. No, he actually did the job himself. What a guy. I like him for that.
Not that there's wrong with getting a GoFundMe page. There's nothing wrong with it. You just can't misuse it.
Yes.
And he became the richest man in the world. I think he's been knocked off that top spot by Bill Gates now. But by sheer determination, and like Eric says, being a little bit publicity shy, being what apparently is described as a very nice bloke, he became the richest man in the world. That's amazing.
True.
But you know what? He spent most of his life leaning towards the right.
Uh-huh.
Politically in Germany, and then he spent a good portion of his life regretting that decision.
Sure. But just as an aside, Ken, thanks for the message. Can you do it again later, please? Because it will get buried under all the other messages. Ken's got a view on the soldiers left homeless on the street. Really thanks for it, Ken. But can you do it a bit later? Because seriously, it'll go whizzing up the page and I'll never find it again because I'm rubbish at that.
Is that Ken Sullivan?
That's Ken Stokes.
Ken Stokes. I was going to say it's not Ken O'Sullivan. He could just message me.
Yeah, all right.
Ken Stokes. Sorry, Ken.
Ken. Well, love you, Ken. But a bit later on, that'd be great. Another Ken. Good grief. Yes. Ken Catchpole has died at the age of 78. He's one of Australia's really big and, well, he was big, that's for sure, Australian rugby players, Rach.
Mm.
Yeah. As you know, I know zero about this particular subject, but I'll waffle on through. His nickname was Catchy.
Yes.
And he was the only player feared by the mighty All Blacks, which is pretty interesting because they fear no man.
Absolutely.
But he had this terrible accident in 1968. Well, it wasn't an accident. He was playing. That
has got to be so painful. Ouch.
This is why I don't like sport. This is why I don't like sport. It's completely stupid that people do this in the name of winning something and chasing a ball or whatever it is that you do in sport. I don't know. But he got trapped under a...
Sorry?
He got trapped under a scrum of guys, and one of them pulled on his leg so hard that he tore the hamstring from his pelvis.
He actually tore it. Now, that is... Yes. But Rach, you are raising a big question. Yes.
Am I?
Yes, you've raised a big question.
Which
Because
one?
you said you don't understand why people get hurt doing sport.
No, I don't understand why people put themselves through that for a result of I win, you lose. What's the point of it? You're not at war.
I will ask Caroline to answer that, who proudly, very proudly, because I put them all in the box and hid them away. She very proudly has all my motor racing trophies, and the best and biggest ones are for coming first.
Yeah, but this is a football game in a series of many.
Yes.
I mean, you know what? It's just it's a ridiculous notion to me. The winning for the sake of doing something completely stupid.
What, like motor racing?
Yeah, all of it.
Well, yeah, really. Yeah.
No.
I think what Rachel's saying is right, isn't it? Why do people, women and blokes, it's not just a male thing, why do they go out and put themselves in a position where they're going to get hurt so they can stick a ball in a square hole at the end of a field?
Exactly.
Hang on, a square hole?
You know, like a goal, like a football goal.
That we're talking rugby to begin with, Leigh.
An elongated, very tall square hole.
No, you don't.
Chuck the ball over the top
It's
of.
anywhere over the line.
You know exactly what he means, Uncle Eric. Don't be
Yeah, he
cheap.
does. He's just trying to upset me because he knows I'm upset because he ignored me.
Hi to Eddie and Nicola and Katie and Brano's there as well. Hello.
Hello.
There again, regular every Friday. Good stuff. Anyway, we move on to the to the golden sport, of course, which is the one that I would have dearly loved to do, and it's still on my bucket list. I've actually ridden in the back of a Formula One car, believe it or not.
Great.
They're going, yeah. How does that work then?
We don't care. Leigh and I don't care. You know this. You set yourself up.
There'll be people out there going, but you can't do that, Eric, because there's only one seat in them. Yeah. But in actual fact, there are some publicity cars built exactly the same spec, exactly the same speed, engines and wires and things like that, where you actually get to sit in the back, but you can't touch the controls. And that was the trouble. I was sitting in the back with Jos Verstappen's dad, and he was driving, and we go around the track.
So this racing driver's dad was in the front driving the car.
Yes.
That you were sitting in the back of.
Yes.
That was pretending to be a Formula One car.
Yes.
So you got an old bloke driving an old.
No, he wasn't old then. No.
Okay.
He was actually in Formula One Championship at the time. So he was a pucker driver, mate.
I tell the ladies and the gentlemen and everybody else, Formula One is the most boring sport I've ever witnessed in my life. I sat in Delhi and watched it. It was boring.
Yes, in fact, Steve's very good at this. Yeah. He says, did you go in the Minardi car? Jos was the dad, Max is his son. Absolutely, Steve. And it was...
I think we might weave our way back to the actual story.
And let me just finish it. It's in Northamptonshire, the track. If Caroline was here, she'd tell me straight away. Donington.
Yeah, but she's not. Let's get on with it.
Donington Park. Donington Park. Hello to Marcus and to Marion. And Jim's there as well. Jim Simpson. Hello, mate. Formula One boss. Well, They say that Bernie Ecclestone was actually rather nasty about things and cannot see why good-looking women can't stand on the grid next to the drivers. But I actually watched him being interviewed on Sky News last night, and he went typically politician Bernie Ecclestone. He said, well, actually, it's up to the people that now own it.
Well, hang on a minute. Let's tell everybody what we're talking about.
You do that then.
Okay, so the Formula One have been criticised because they've decided to scrap the grid girls. And they feel that it's not in keeping with their brand anymore, that it's a bit of an outdated concept, and they've decided to move on. And the grid girls are, sort of decorations, I guess. I mean, a grid girl, if you think about what it means exactly what it says it is. There's girls walking, and they're not just, so they're not sort of running around in bathing suits or anything. They're fully clothed. They're just, but they all walk in, unison, and they all turn around in unison. And it's like synchronised swimming.
Exactly, Rach. Exactly.
But, however, wait, I didn't say it was good or bad.
Oh.
It's synchronised swimming on concrete for decorative purposes only, which serves zero purpose. It's clearly not something that is accepted as the norm anymore. It's an outdated kind of a concept of having it. It's like boxing, which is even more stupid.
Hang on. Good afternoon to Mike Buster Summers, by the way. Why is it an outdated thing?
Well, because it's an outdated thing, is it? It's actually quite a ludicrous statement. And also, let's think of it a different way. Women are beautiful. That's a simple fact. Generally, as a race of human beings, women are beautiful.
No, Leigh, all women are beautiful, just some more than others.
Well, I take a more esoteric view of it. I think all women are beautiful.
That's what I just said that.
But the simple fact is, this thing. Now, I don't agree at all with what happened at the President's Club, or where women are abused, or women are being forced into situations.
Whoa! We've only got one person's word for that.
What?
Now, the journalist was reporting it.
I think we've got a bit more than that in the week that's followed. Really, honestly. We've got David Walliams, we've got all sorts of people talking about it.
I know, but there's not one time that I can... I'm racking my brains now. I don't think there's been an unrestricted one-to-one interview with one of the girls that was there, and that would be the thing for me.
The girls have been talking about it, but when nobody's getting libelled. No. By saying it, nobody's being libelled. It's a group of people who were there and nobody's naming them. It doesn't matter what I'm saying is something. All right, the claims that have been made about the President's Club, if they took place, that's
wrong.
These women were there to earn money. Now, the same thing happens here with Formula One. But when you start to remove this element from something like this, you are actually insulting women. Why aren't women allowed to be what they are? Beautiful.
Correct.
and serve a purpose and do a job of work and entertain.
I think it's... Do you know what the difference is?
Yeah.
It's owned by Liberty Media in America now.
Well, what does liberty mean? Think about that.
Well, but Liberty Media being in America will be more politically correct than other places. So therefore they're going to go, oh, it's nice to put the women on the spotlight. But think how many women they've done out of a good day's work and the money. They've made people lose a job. Brilliant.
Absolutely. And, nobody's saying, like Rachel's saying about in the boxing ring, that's a bit of fun. I'm not saying if women want to display themselves, look at society. He says he's no longer part of society's OR at the moment. Uh-huh. Well, it is. Look at the way that all men have pumped themselves up into becoming Adonises and wear baseball caps, bat backwards on their bald heads because it's style and that's how they want to present themselves. Good-looking women have as much right as men to present themselves at their best.
Rebecca Cooper, one of the actual grid girls, she posted on Twitter, if we don't do something to stop this, where will it end? No grid girls, no cheerleaders, no female singers. We're being told what to wear on stage. No models. No models in magazine. Where would the fashion industry be? She's actually saying, I'll fight for my right to choose what I wear, where I work, and to keep a job I love. And she's actually got a hashtag going through Twitter, which is actually going really well. And the hashtag is Fight for My Right to Choose. And that hashtag is going viral.
I don't much care either way.
No, Rach, can I? No, Rach is our market research person.
Wait.
Okay.
Let me finish.
Yes.
I don't much care either way. I really don't. If they want to do it, great. If they don't want to do it, great. If Formula One say don't do it, whatever. If Formula One change their mind and say do it. All I know is in March, there's a great big bloody track going up right through where I have to drive to get to work.
Uh-oh.
Oh, dear.
So that's all I care about.
Shall I not ask the question now, Leigh, do you think?
Go on, ask her.
Really?
Yeah, I would.
All right, then. Rach, are you offended by the grid girls?
I'm offended by the whole concept of Formula One. It's completely retarded.
You're biased. You're biased.
No, I'm not. I just hate it. And if a grid girl is getting between me and where I have to drive to get to my place of work, then yes, I don't like her. If she's not in my way, I don't care what she does.
Right. Okay. Hi to Gary and to David, who've just joined us. We'll be doing our topic, which this week, is it your social responsibility if you see a homeless, especially soldier, out on the street to pick up your phone and call one of the helplines? I want to know what you think. Rather than these people who just whinge on social media going, oh, there's a soldier out there, that's really bad. I blame everybody. I'm going to blame the guy who does the parking tickets as well. No, you should be doing it yourself. What's your view? And back to this politically correctness gone bonkers. An art gallery up in Leigh's part of the world has taken down a painting depicting naked nymphs. This is taking place in Manchester at the Art Gallery, and this is a classical, what people call it, classical art. And yet, all of a sudden, you can't do that anymore. And
you can. Oh, that's not right. That just isn't right. What's actually happened is, and I think this is a really good move on part of the art gallery, and I think Rachel does as well. What Manchester Art Gallery has said is, with all this sort of controversy going on about women and how women should be presented to the world, not how women present themselves to the world, that's a totally different thing, but how society thinks that women should be presented to the world, this art gallery has said, right, as an experiment, we will remove this painting and see what the reaction is. See if people are really offended or find life to be better when you don't have a picture of a nymph on the wall when they come in here. Good on you, I say.
They didn't take it down because people didn't like it. They took it down quite secretly.
We have an admission, by the way.
What?
From James Thompson, who says, sorry, I'm late, and I will go and stand in the corner at once.
No, party slip.
Yes, absolutely. So I just think it's all... I hear what you're saying, Leigh, and I do, but there becomes a point where you should just say, get a life.
I agree. What the art gallery has done is they have taken a social situation which is growing. Remember, while this is all being done, let's think about the double standards in this world, right? Yeah. Pornography is at its highest. Pornography actually now gets its name in newspapers and on television and makes statements about the world. Pornography involves naked women.
But this isn't pornography. This is classical art.
That's right. And so this curator, Claire Ganaway, has said, right, let's remove, because there were complaints about it, that's how it's come about, but let's remove it.
Hang on a minute. Didn't Mr. Picasso have boobies on his paintings?
He had them on his head everywhere.
So why are they going to take all his paintings down then?
Because been in Italy, man. Everything's naked.
It's because this is the experiment. They're not removing the whole naked statues from the world. Leave our naked bodies alone, I say. We should be proud of our nakedness.
Not with my body.
We want to start an intelligent conversation, and that's what these guys are trying to do.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay, I'll buy into that. I want to squeeze one more story in before we get to the break because we're rushing. We're running late. And I would like to have a little bit of solidarity for some journalists in Kenya. When I found this story, three of the largest private TV channels were off air. As ordered by the government there, even though the Supreme Court said that they should be allowed to broadcast. And it was because the government said, it's the wrong information you're giving out. You're giving information out about the opposition groups, blah, 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 blah. That is dictatorship. And those journalists out there, I applaud you for keep going. Good on you.
Absolutely, that is what journalism is about. You take on the big boys, you take the punches, you take the knocks, and you come out fighting because the world needs to know what's going on around it. And that's what we are about.
Absolutely.
Telling the world what's going on.
Correct. After the break, we'll be back with... and I'll repeat it just so that people who just joined know what we're talking about. Straight after the break, and then we go back into the news. Many people, especially on social media, quite correctly actually point out that, for example, ex-soldiers living rough are suffering, and that's wrong. However, why are these people not doing something about it to help themselves? They should be doing something. You've got a mobile in your pocket, even if you have to dial the directory inquiry, you get a number to help these people. Why are you just saying, oh, I'm going to write on social media that this is a bad thing, and you're not doing anything? You're bringing a problem to the world, but no solution. And do you know what? I really don't understand that.
RTI.
Everybody okay? Remember your training, all right?
RNLI lifeboat crews are unpaid volunteers. They rescue 22 people every day. On a lifeboat, training is a matter of life and death, and it costs £1,000 a year for each crew member. As a charity, we receive no UK government funding, so our crew's safety depends entirely on your donations. Please call 0800 543 210 and donate £20 or whatever you can afford. Because next time, this could be for real.
RTI.
And this is Postcard From Poprad. Welcome back to part 2, where we're discussing what should be done if you find somebody, especially an ex-serviceman, out on the street. Should you just go ranting and raving on social media, or should you do something about it? My view is you should do something about it. Or am I wrong?
I think you're right.
Really?
I think you're right.
That's right. People can bring it to social media to make a point about it, but if they go arguing with people and slagging off, this government won't do this, that's pointless. They need to focus that energy on actually helping.
Well, the funny... How it came to pass, somebody was moaning about it on social media. Not on my timeline, I have to say, because if they did it on my timeline, I'd have ditched them. And the guy was saying, it should be somebody in authority that's gone to see him. How does the person in authority know there's something wrong if you, the citizen, doesn't tell anybody? Then there was this really ranting, slightly abusive conversation where he said, well, why don't you phone him then? So I pointed out to the gentleman that I was a 2.5-hour plane ride away. He was local, so he should be able to do it, get somebody locally to go down there and talk to the man. I can't do that. He still went ranting on and on. So eventually, and this was the nub of the thing, I found out where he'd got this information from. 14 hours before he started ranting on social media, trying to claim brownie points, somebody had actually gone down, seen the guy, posted the message on Facebook that they had called one of the help groups, in this case Help for Heroes, and arranged for the guy to be collected.
Yeah.
So why rant?
Because Facebook and social media generally has given the public the right to rant.
Well, that's okay.
You're saying it isn't. You're saying why rant?
But he was ranting. He was ranting with BS.
Yeah, well, that's right. The problem with ranting is that you rant and rarely actually do anything other than rant.
Okay, well, okay, well, thanks to Ken because he put his nice comments. Well, not nice, I don't know. Whatever. Ken says, number one, can you please tell how many commissioned officers get into these sorts of problems? Ken, I don't know the exact numbers, but I can share with you that there are a lot of commissioned officers that do get into these problems. And I know that through the work that Leigh and I do with Holidays for Heroes. And it's not just the enlisted guys. And in some cases, you would be absolutely astounded at the suffering of some commissioned officers. Because Ken thinks that the forces take care of the commissioned officers rather than the lower ranks. And Ken, I have to say to you, from personal experience of dealing with these situations, and both Leigh and I know this to be the case, that it's not only the people who have got pips on their shoulders that get looked after, and the rest don't. In fact, I wouldn't be at all surprised if it's actually the reverse. Steve says, I agree that you should call someone, but people don't know who to call other than the police. If they knew... Now, I kind of get that, Steve.
Yeah, but actually, Steve's made the point. He can only think of the police. Well, phone the police. The police are there to protect society. Mm-hmm. These people are part of society, and many of them need protection. But let's be honest. Let's be honest about this. This story has got to the public notice because of a campaign by that terrible Red Top, the Sun, who started a campaign to get people. Sorry?
No, that annoys me when people... The people that recently have been slagging off the Sun for running this, it just is ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. I've been asked to do some dedications. I'll do those in a minute. Steve says, I agree that you should call, as we've said, but they don't know. Now, Leigh's quite right, actually, Steve, where the police have, literally in the call centres, don't dial 999 or anything like daft like that, use the local number. And they are different around the world, so we won't give one specific one out today. But they have a whole list of help places literally in the call centres. Even in the one here, they do have that. And so there are ways to get there. But I would also say, Steve, with the amount of publicity, and I can say this from both an English perspective and an Australian perspective, because earlier in the day, before this show, is a great show from Australia where they actually do give out the phone numbers to help vets from the military. So I think if you just listen around a little bit, the stuff is out there. It's whether we can bother to do something about it.
I think that's right. The Consumer Watch Foundation is actually I'm not going to say who it is, but he's actually talking to somebody at the moment about them. Their job is to find people who are leaving the forces jobs and homes. So, and they don't get any publicity at all. So we're talking to them about doing stuff on it. But the people, there are two elements. Dorothy's just written saying that a lot of the time people who live rough on the streets can be very frightening, and she's quite right. That's why you need to pick the phone up and tell somebody who knows how to deal with these circumstances to sort them out. But the simple fact is, some of these men want to live in a feral fashion, because that's what they're trained to do. Others of them don't, like Bob Curry, who was one of the people who broke into the Iranian embassy and saved everybody. He ended up on the streets because his relationship broke up. That caused his business to collapse, and he lost everything. Now, the Sun picked up on this story, and 400,000 people backed the campaign for the Sun, and Bob was given a house.
Given a house,
by a housing association.
Yep.
Now, it took...
But that's what I'm saying, Leigh. People power.
People power. 400,000 people got Bob Curry a home.
Good. Flipping right. Can we say hi to all the guys listening in at Capita? Hello, Capita.
Capita?
Yes, Capita, the company.
That I know what Capita is, actually, yes.
Good Lord, that's a miracle. David says, well said, Eric. We need more action takers and fewer people posturing about stuff. And
I'll say whoever that is.
That's David. Gaby says, watching from Holland. Well, hello. There is a good point that's being raised that the Sun does have a bit of a problem in Liverpool because the sales are still quite low because of the football thing, which I don't disagree at all. I don't disagree at all. It is just one of those things. But you know what, Steve? If more people start talking about it, even the little RTI as it is, if we get one person to look up Help for Heroes and get the number and keep it in a bit of paper, write it down, scribble it, whatever you want to do, put it in your phone. If just one person does it, then the job of us three today has been definitely worthwhile. Definitely.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. Andy McNabb, the SAS legend, I just read very briefly what he said. It's only 2 paragraphs, but he says, it's great that Bob now has a home, and we give all the credit to those who signed the petition. And the campaign showed how much people care. I think that's exactly what you're talking about, Eric, that social media doesn't care. The readers of The Sun did care. All Bob needed was a leg up to get back into society, working, earning, paying tax. It's fantastic that we could sort it out. I think that's exactly what it is. Start doing something other than looking like an illiterate idiot on Facebook.
And we've actually got coherence on the next part of it, which kind of fits in with the same thing, because Peter Millington Wallace. That's a rather nice name, isn't it, Peter? It's a very nice name. I've got a rant, says Peter. We're having a rant moment. Why aren't lifeboats government funded? It seems obvious to me that they should be. And I think that's probably prompted because we actually do support the Royal National Lifeboat Institute. Yeah. And they actually, do you know what, Peter? When I phoned them up, they said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, can we have that, please, so that we can air it on some Fridays and during the week and things." "Yeah, but we haven't got a budget for it, Eric. How much will it cost us?" No. I don't want any money at all. This is free." And the girl just said, "Free?" And I said, "Well, do people charge you to advertise?" And she went, "Yeah." What? People are charging the Royal National Lifeboat Institute to raise awareness, to get money in for the people that save people's lives. What is wrong?
It's a funny society. We live in a very strange society.
We do. Peter, I totally agree with you. It's really a daft thing. But all I will say to you is a lot of us know people or know of people that have been picked off boats, especially in my case. And it's the RNLI that have done that. And away you go. Steve also comments, if governments hadn't cut funding for social housing, then this might not have happened. I'm sorry to disagree with you, Steve. That's not the case. Successive governments, not one political party or the other, haven't kept up to speed. But that doesn't actually... When you get, as Rachel very candidly pointed out before Christmas, when we helped with the Mind campaign, when it was the Mental Awareness Week, at the point that you're there, Steve, it doesn't matter if somebody offered you Buckingham Palace, you turn it down. It just doesn't work.
You wouldn't really understand what you were being offered, rather than you would. You would be very confused by that situation, and until you got the help that you needed for your mental health,
yep,
you wouldn't be able to comprehend the next step.
No, you wouldn't. You'd just be so confused, Steve. So it doesn't matter about the social housing situation. The people that are in that position, it's hard to explain to anybody if you've never been there. But I'm guessing it's if you can imagine this, Steve, you're sitting there and all of a sudden every part of your logic just disappears and you cannot make a decision. Just imagine that and think how that would be like. That's what these guys are like. They can't make a decision because their brain just isn't working.
Some of them walk out of the house they're already in.
Yeah.
And then and in their sort of confusion and depression and everything else, and the PTSD, which is mostly the trouble with guys who have seen action and so forth, that then becomes your world, and anything outside of that is you're completely oblivious to.
Absolutely.
So you could be wandering around the streets but not even know you're doing it.
I better do a traffic announcement. It is snowing heavily in Poprad at the moment, just to annoy Rachel, and it is settling everywhere. I'm looking out of the window at the moment, so I'm giving you an instant traffic report, but unfortunately I can't push the button that puts the traffic report out on your radio. But if you are driving around here, please be careful, because it's snowing like Billio at the moment.
Shall we try and get our friend, the woman we're trying to get to join us at the Consumer Watch Foundation, to come on the show and explain the truth behind resettling soldiers into society?
Yes, please.
Or troops.
Yes, please.
The fact is, a lot of them, because the way they're trained and the way they're looked on and treated, they actually find it very, very difficult to fit back into society.
Correct.
And it's not necessarily because of depression or anxiety or whatever. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. It could be alcoholism, all these things, drug addiction, all these things affect. But what it is, people fall through the net in society. I've done my own bit of falling through the net throughout my life.
And we all.
Yeah, exactly. And it's difficult to get back into the right position. And some people, you did it by yourself, I did it by myself, Rachel did it by herself. But some people can't do it by themselves. And this resettlement program for soldiers in this case, is a very, very good thing. But let's find out more about it. Let's tell the world.
This is going to sound very weird. And it's very difficult for me to actually put this into words. But some of you will remember we asked you all to send lots of love to somebody at the top of the show. And said person has just joined the show, Joe. So good afternoon, Joe. And his message just reads this. Now, he's just joined us. So think of the power you guys have. It just simply says, "Hi all, have a good day. Love, Joe."
Oh, love you, Joe.
Love, mate, all the way back to you. And I will tell you, Joe, if she's not been there, message from Sally, she loves you to bits. Loves you to bits. And that's rather difficult. I carry on. I think if we were going to wrap up this thing up at this particular stage, I would urge you all, instead of just watching the telly for 5 minutes tonight, when you go home, use your interweb and find out the local support centres. Just put a couple of numbers in your phone. It will take you no more than 5 minutes. No more than 5 minutes. And you know what? If you're going to be mercenary about it, let's give you a mercenary reason to do it. If you get somebody off the streets and into a controlled environment, they're less likely to harm themselves, they're less likely to have to go into hospital, they're less likely to be a burden on the local community funding. So therefore, you can save money for your local community by helping a person get off the streets. There you go.
If you feel that's all too hard for you and you're too busy, or you don't have time, you don't know you don't have the Google or whatever, then perhaps consider investigating these different organisations in whatever country you're in. It because every country has them, and maybe invest a little bit of your income if you are in a position to do so. Donate some money to some of these organisations. Generally, these things are tax deductible, but rather than don't raise your voice. Make a difference.
Okay. From an ex-vet who will remain nameless, although he's on Facebook, I suppose, but whatever, who says, that is correct. Myself as a veteran can concur. The bad thing about PTSD is that the problems only start in the latter time of life. And this is also true, so thank you for that. This is... Normally I wouldn't read this out, but I am going to read it out. Joe has just written back again. Thanks all. Trying hard to hold back the tears, and sends I love you. Joe, nothing will take that pain away. It will just get easier. But I promise you, Joe, the one thing is your super lady wife is now not in pain, and just use that as a positive. One little positive. And if you can do that, and do you know what, Joe? She's probably sitting up there now, laughing at us lot, like there's no tomorrow, and calling me a numpty for having watery eyes.
Well, there's that, but also Joe's got a ripping cheer squad.
Well, that's true. That's true. Do you know what? We were talking about him this morning. I'm going to share the story because I used to ride what in England's called a combo, which is a motorbike and sidecar at 16. So I'm driving to work or riding to work in absolutely thick fog, and all of a sudden I hear beep 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 beep. There's Joe coming up alongside me in thick fog. You can hardly see in front of your face. He's standing on his seat with his arms out, laughing at me as he overtook me. What a geezer. What a geezer. Anyway, we're just going to try and really cram some news in. Some bits I'll just give you the news of, other bits we'll talk about. Morrison's have announced a plan to axe 1,500 jobs, and these are managerial jobs. Oh dear, what a shame. To allow investment in bolstering the computer...
a manager?
Because there's too many managers, not enough Indians.
Yeah, I agree. I concur.
You do, thank you. The Nutty Brigade are out again. Lobsters and crabs should not be boiled, says campaigners. Why?
What's wrong with that? Why should we boil an animal alive so we can eat it? We all complain about dogs being boiled alive. Well, let's have a go about crabs and things.
But dogs aren't delicious. Dogs aren't delicious.
Excuse me. Are you telling me that when I have my fish and chips, the fish, I shouldn't eat that anymore because, seriously, when a trawler catches fish, it goes straight into the hold of the boat, ship, sorry. Yeah. Boat goes underwater, ships are on top, in the ship. Nobody lays them to rest gently. They just lay there and die. They run out of air.
That's right, yeah. But there is a difference between that and the act of boiling something that's alive to kill it. There's plenty of other ways of killing them. And also, yeah, it's like slitting the throat of and bleeding an animal. Yeah, it's awful. It's food, but they treat the food with a bit of respect because that's what keeps us alive.
Do you know what? It's true. You can check it out if you don't believe me. Do you know there's a lobster whisperer?
A lobster whisperer,
and he makes them stand up, so they're like their tails over to the left, and they're like standing up, like in like statues. And he strokes them gently, and apparently this sends them into a deep coma-style sleep, and then you boil them.
That's terrible.
It's true. It's flipping true.
He possibly whisper that is there a way to make you not so expensive?
Yes, that'd be good as well, wouldn't it?
That's what you said. What you've just said.
It's true.
What you do, you show love and affection to this lobster. You make it feel nice and wanted and cared for. Yeah. And it goes into has a little sleep and rest and it's relaxed. And then you chuck it in a pan of boiling water.
Yeah.
That's just torture.
It's unbelievable. Anyway, I've got to say hello and goodbye. That was my rubbish impersonation of the Beatles. A killer whale, allegedly, and I have not heard it, can say has managed to... Does it sound real?
Yeah.
It does sound real, but I also think the next thing it's going to say is delicious, because they will eat you. But I have heard it, actually, and I mean the first the bye-bye was a bit, it was sort of squeaking hello.
Yes.
Squeaking hello, and then when it was bye-bye, it sort of went bye-bye. And I went, oh, wow.
Whoa, that works for me. Gordon Ramsay has admitted that he tricked speed cameras, you naughty Gordon Ramsay, on US highways. Oh, if only I could get away with that. Apparently, he was driving his Ferrari and he used to put cling film, and there are other plasticky substances available as well. And he told this to the Mirror newspaper that he wrapped his number plates up with cling film, so in the middle of the night when there was nobody on the roads, he could drive really fast with his car.
I hope he gets arrested and put in jail for it.
The trouble
Giving
is...
us top tips. Top tips by Gordon Ramsay. Thanks, Gordon Ramsay. Excellent.
Top tips on how to break the law.
But you know what? Because the statute of limitation does work in America. But if he goes back to America now, he can get nicked because he's owned up to the fact that he's broken the law.
Exactly. Good on you, lot. You bet. What will happen to him? I wonder if he will. I bet he doesn't because of who he is, but most people would. Yeah.
I know.
I
know. Apparently, with all the furore at the BBC, a report's been commissioned from PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, about the complaints about women in the public broadcast from not getting paid as much, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Whoa. Hold the presses. There is no pay simple system in the BBC. There isn't.
No.
There isn't.
They just paid women less.
Not just women, Leigh.
Well, no, they paid a lot of people less, but then people in different jobs should get less money. But in simple terms, right, which is apparently something I say a lot, according to my son I was talking to earlier, in simple terms, the men at the top were paid more than the women at the top if they were in comparable jobs. And the BBC has said, oh, we did it by accident.
But the thing is, most of the people there are freelance anyway.
Yeah.
So they've got their own contract that they signed in the first place. So arguably, and I'm not saying this is true, but arguably, they signed a contract reducing the pay that they're getting. So why shout about it later?
Because they don't know what everybody else is getting.
Exactly. Thank you. And if in one hand you're saying that women are not allowed to stand at the grid at Formula One because it's equality and everything else, and we need to show them respect at the BBC. Show the women respect. Make them have the or say, no, you're not that good, darling. You'll have to have less. Be honest. The BBC have lied about this all the time.
Well, anyway, just to make everybody happy, the BBC has proposed that there should be a cap for its news presenters. Are you sitting comfortably, boys and girls? The cap for their news presenters per annum should be just a poor little £320,000 a year.
Yeah, well, these people are very experienced, aren't they? And also are the faces of the nation, and the stress and the strain. You know better than I do.
It's a really hard job.
I know that.
And for the BBC to actually say it's what it's doing, it's made a meridian price for presenters. Which is less than a lot of the presenters were on in the first place. All they had to do was be fair. BBC, all you had to do was be fair to women.
Be fair to everybody.
Be fair to everybody, yes. Better said, I agree.
You work until you get to what you deem to be £320,000 worth, and then just stop.
Yeah. I've got to say hello to Monica, who's asked that we say hello to Monica. Hello, Monica.
Hello, Monica.
There we go. So, anyway, with the snow pouring down in Poprad, I know what everybody here is going to be doing this weekend, but what's Auntie Rach going to be doing?
Actually, not much tomorrow, but on Sunday, because Rob's got a rare day off, we're going to go and see The Darkest Hour.
What's
at
that?
The cinema with lovely Gary Oldman, your lovely Gary Oldman, you British people.
Oh.
He's made a lovely film about, well, not lovely probably, but more compelling and wonderful, about Winston Churchill.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
For which he's been nominated for an Academy Award and has won every other award on the planet for said role. So we're going to go and watch that at the pictures.
I think you should do a review for us next week.
You're going to the flicks.
Yeah. Oh, why don't you write a review for Consumer Watch Foundation? Forget RTI, Rach.
All right.
Oh, listen to it. Anyway, have a nice time at the pictures. Get Robbie to buy the popcorn and champagne.
And an ice cream.
I'll write a review, Uncle Lee, if I get paid as much as a boy would.
Yeah, I'll pay you exactly the same as a boy would get.
Do you know how much I get? Do you know how much I get paid for writing on the Consumer Watch Foundation, Rach?
Exactly the same as a woman.
Yes, nothing.
We're all paid in grief.
Totally fair.
So, very quickly, Leigh, what are you up to?
Well, it's a long story, but I'll keep it short.
You haven't got time. You've got 20 seconds. Literally 19, 18, 17, 16. All right. I think we'll settle for time to say goodbye, Rach.
Bye-bye.
No, you clashed. Bye-bye, Rach first.
Oh, bye-bye,
Rach.
Now bye-bye, Sooty and Sweep.
Bye-bye, Sooty and Sweep. Bye-bye.
Oh, my Lord. That was Postcard from Poprad with me, Eric Wiltsher. We'll see you all again next week. Coming up next on the station here, really is, it's that Train Mad Steve.